For decades, military power was measured by fighter jets, tanks, missiles, and warships, but warfare is changing. Today, a country can watch a battlefield for hours without putting a pilot in the sky. It can gather intelligence from hundreds of kilometers away, and when necessary, it can potentially conduct precision strikes without risking a human pilot. This is the new age of unmanned warfare, and Pakistan wants to be part of it. One of the most important platforms in that effort is Shahpar III. But this story isn't really about the drone itself. The bigger question is, could Shahpar III change how Pakistan conducts surveillance and warfare, and could it trigger a new phase of the drone competition between Pakistan and India? Shahpar III is more significant than simply being another aircraft in Pakistan's defense inventory. Its importance lies in what it represents, the growing indigenous capability of Pakistan's defense industry. Pakistan has operated and developed unmanned systems for years, but the evolution toward larger, longer endurance and potentially armed platforms reflects a broader transformation. The objective is no longer simply to put a camera in the sky. The objective is to create a platform capable of remaining over an area for extended periods, collecting information, supporting military decision making, and potentially conducting missions from a distance. And that matters because modern warfare increasingly depends on one thing: knowing what is happening before your opponent does. Imagine a border where aircraft, vehicles, and military formations are constantly moving. A conventional aircraft might fly over an area, collect information, and return to base. But a long-endurance UAV can potentially remain in the area much longer. That changes the equation. Instead of asking, "What happened here?" military commanders can potentially ask, "What is happening here right now?" That difference is enormous. Persistent surveillance can help identify movement, monitor sensitive areas, support intelligence operations, and provide commanders with a more complete picture of the battlefield. And this is why drones have become so important in modern conflicts. The most valuable weapon may not always be the one that destroys a target. Sometimes it's the system that finds the target first. Now we reach the most important regional dimension. India and Pakistan already have a long history of military competition, but that competition is increasingly moving into the unmanned domain. Both countries are investing in drones, surveillance systems, electronic warfare, air defense, and counter-drone technology. So what happens when Pakistan develops a more capable UAV? India doesn't necessarily have to respond by building an identical drone. It can strengthen the systems designed to find, disrupt, and defeat it. That means radar, electronic warfare, counter-UAV systems, air defense, and improved surveillance networks. But then Pakistan has an incentive to improve its own systems again, and India responds again. This creates an action-reaction cycle. Pakistan develops a new capability, India develops a counter, Pakistan adapts, India adapts again, and suddenly the competition isn't simply about drones, it's about drones versus counter-drones. It would be a mistake to claim that Shahpar III alone changes the military balance between India and Pakistan. It doesn't. The military balance between two nuclear-armed states depends on hundreds of factors: aircraft, missiles, air defense, satellites, electronic warfare, intelligence, naval forces, and above all, the ability to connect these systems into one network. That's where Shahpar III becomes interesting. Its potential value isn't necessarily that it replaces fighter aircraft. It could instead become another component of a much larger intelligence and strike network. A drone can observe, other systems can process the information, commanders can make decisions, and other weapons can potentially act on those decisions. The real revolution is therefore not the drone alone, it is the network around the drone. There is another reason Pakistan has a strong incentive to develop indigenous UAV technology. Modern military aircraft are extremely expensive to acquire and operate. They require pilots, training, maintenance, infrastructure, and extensive logistics. Unmanned systems don't eliminate those costs, but they can provide another option for certain missions while reducing the risk to human pilots. For a country operating under significant economic constraints, that matters. Pakistan Pakistan doesn't necessarily need to replace its fighter fleet with drones. It needs to find ways to multiply the effectiveness of its existing military resources, and UAVs can potentially help achieve that. The goal is not necessarily drones instead of fighter jets. It is drones alongside fighter jets, missiles, satellites, electronic warfare, and air defense. That is a much more realistic picture of future warfare. There is another dimension that goes beyond the battlefield: exports. If Shahpar III can demonstrate reliable performance in real operational environments, it could potentially become an important product for Pakistan's defense industry. And defense exports are about more than money. They can create long-term relationships. A country purchasing a military platform may also require training, maintenance, upgrades, ammunition, communications equipment, and future systems. That creates deeper defense cooperation. Pakistan already has experience exporting military equipment. If it can establish itself as a credible supplier of unmanned systems, UAVs could become another component of its defense export strategy. But there is an important distinction. A platform being advertised for export is not the same thing as proving itself as a successful combat system. That credibility has to be earned through reliability, operational experience, and customer confidence. There is also a broader strategic environment surrounding Pakistan. China has become one of the world's major players in unmanned military technology. Pakistan's defense relationship with China is already extensive. And as modern warfare becomes increasingly dependent on sensors, communications, electronic warfare, and unmanned systems, these technologies are becoming interconnected. But Shahpar III should not simply be described as a Chinese or Pakistani story. The more important point is that Pakistan is operating within a wider Asian transformation in military technology. China is developing advanced unmanned systems. India is expanding its own drone and counter-drone capabilities. Pakistan is developing its own platforms. And countries across the Middle East and Asia are increasingly interested in unmanned warfare. The competition is therefore becoming regional and increasingly global. So what could Shahpar III actually change? Probably not the entire military balance, but it could contribute to something more gradual and potentially more important: the transformation of South Asian warfare. Future conflicts may depend increasingly on the ability to combine multiple systems. A drone identifies an area, a satellite provides additional intelligence, electronic warfare interferes with communications, a command network processes the information, and another weapon system may eventually act on it. The battlefield becomes a connected ecosystem. In such an environment, the country with the best individual weapon may not necessarily have the advantage. The advantage may belong to the country that can connect its weapons, sensors, and intelligence systems together most effectively. And this creates an uncomfortable possibility. The future arms race in South Asia may not simply be about bigger missiles or more fighter aircraft. It could increasingly be about who can see farther, who can stay in the air longer, who can jam the enemy's communications, who can protect their own drones, and most importantly, who can destroy the enemy's drones before they reach their objectives. That is why counter-drone technology may become just as important as the drones themselves. A powerful UAV is useful only if it can survive in an increasingly contested environment, and this is where the next stage of competition could emerge. So, is Shahpar III a game changer? That depends on what we mean by game changer. It would be unrealistic to suggest that one UAV can suddenly transform the military balance between India and Pakistan, but Shahpar III can still be strategically important. For Pakistan, it represents the pursuit of greater indigenous defense capability and strategic autonomy. It can potentially strengthen persistent surveillance and give Pakistan another tool to complement conventional military power. It could also create opportunities for defense exports, and regionally, it contributes to the accelerating competition between drones and counter-drones. But perhaps the biggest lesson is much broader. The future battlefield won't be defined by one weapon. It will be defined by networks, drones, satellites, electronic warfare, air defense, precision weapons, artificial intelligence, and the intelligence connecting all of them. The countries that adapt fastest to this new environment may gain an advantage not because they possess one unbeatable weapon, but because they can make their entire military system work together. Shahpar III is one piece of that transformation. And the real question isn't, is Pakistan's drone better than India's? The more important question is, who will build the better unmanned warfare ecosystem? Because in the next generation of warfare, the battle may begin long before the first missile is launched. It may begin with whoever sees the other side first. And